Hi there. Did you know that it's impossible to tell your brain not to do something? Crazy, right? Prove it to you today. I'll show you how. I'll give you an example, and we'll talk about 3 ways that you can train your brain to be more optimistic. Hi, I'm Diane LaFoon, and I'm here with your Joy Tip of the Week. And I'd love to hear from you. We all know that our brain is a powerful force. And for some reason, its tendency is more towards negativity than positivity. And so let's have a thumbs up or give me your most positive emoji or GIF in the comments because we need to train our brains to be more positive and more optimistic. And today we'll talk about 3 tricks that you can implement today to train your brain to be more optimistic. So let's talk about the human brain first. It is funny, it cannot comprehend the negative, and it's just incapable. I saw this on a Simon Sinek video earlier this week, and it was interesting to me. I'll give you an example. For example, let me give you a statement. I'm going to tell you something, and I would love to hear your response to it, okay? So right now, I'm going to tell you, don't think of a Christmas tree. You did, didn't you? You thought of a Christmas tree. Was it the little emoji Christmas tree, or was it the Rockefeller Center tree all lit up on TV? Or maybe it was just your traditional Christmas tree that you trim when you're celebrating the holidays at home. But if you tell your brain not to do something, it does it anyways, right? The brain is incapable of being told not to do something. It's crazy. So it just goes to show you, we may inadvertently reinforce negativity in our brain because of this. For example, when you tell yourself over and over, I can't do something, or I won't do something, or this will never happen, you're reinforcing that negative. And so we're going to talk about tips and tricks to kind of change that into a positive reinforcement as well. It works with children too. I have a beautiful little 13-month-old now, great niece, and it's interesting. We always seem to go to the negative, like telling our children don't eat on the couch, when instead it might be actually a more reinforced positive statement to say eat at the table. It's just a little twist on it. Instead of saying don't do this, say do that. Give them an opportunity to do something, and you might see a different change in their attitude and their behavior. Athletes know this too. I'm not an athlete, definitely not an athlete. But because I grew up in northern Michigan, I grew up in Petoskey, Michigan, which is a great place to live. We had winter sports that we were involved in every winter, just because that's what everybody does. And my 2 favorite winter sports were snowmobiling and downhill skiing. And, it's partly because when I was, I think, 5 years old, my dad put a pair of skis on me, and he set me between his skis and he went downhill with me, and I could feel what it's supposed to feel like to ski properly. And so I learned really young, and it came very naturally to me. And so I just enjoyed it a lot, even though I'm not an athletic person. So years later, then, when I was early high school days for me, my grandma died. My mom's mom died. And my dad wanted to make the holidays a little bit easier for mom and for the family because we were missing her so much. And so for years, all through my high school and college years, as soon as Christmas was over, Dad would pack us all up in the family Suburban, and we would head out for that 24-hour drive to Colorado to go skiing for a few days. And it was just a great time, great memories, great ways to think of Grandma too, and honor her, and remember how much we loved her, but great way to make new memories. But it was always fun for me, because I'm not athletic, to come home to my friends and brag about how I was going high speeds down all these black diamond trails that are for experts only. And honestly, though, my favorite runs at the mountain in Colorado were the runs that would go all the way down the mountain. It'd go crisscross across the whole mountain, and it would go all the way down. And it was just a great time because it was the longest run, so it took a long time. But it was also something that not everybody liked, because there were places where there were a lot of trees. And I would love to go fast down this crisscross trail, because I have been taught so well how to ski that the trees didn't bother me. A lot of skiers, when they're going through trees like that, they say to themselves, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. And boom, they're going to hit a tree, because that's all they're focused on. That's all they're thinking about. But my dad had taught me to focus on where you're going, focus on the path, on the ski trail. And you can go fast when you're focusing on the ski trail because you're not going to hit anything but what you're focused on, and that ski trail. And so that was always my favorite trail to go down. And, you know, it's exactly what we're talking about today. When you're telling yourself, instead of don't do this, and focusing on the tree that you're going to hit, you know, if you tell yourself, follow the path, follow the path, follow the path, and keep your eye on the trail, you're going to be just fine. So what does this have to do with your brain? You know, your brain is going to do what you tell it to do. So if you're focused on the obstacles in any situation in your life, you will see all of those obstacles all of the time. If you focused on the goal, the path, the win, the, you know, success, then you will see that. That's what you need to focus on. So first of all, the next time you hear yourself telling yourself, I can't, stop yourself instead and say, how can I? Because saying I can't stops your brain. It stops that train of thought. It prevents you from finding a solution, and it prevents you from moving forward. So when you choose to say, instead of I can't, if you ask yourself, how can I? Then your brain will naturally start looking for answers. You'll make yourself think. You'll get creative. You'll use your imagination, and you will power through whatever that situation is. So instead of I can't do this sport, or I can't do this activity, or I can't take on this new hobby because I don't know how, say to yourself, well, how can I learn this new sport? How can I achieve this new activity? How can I learn this new hobby? And then your brain will seek out solutions to that. We can all change how we perceive our limitations. And it might be very hard at first, but if you keep asking yourself, how can I? It will become easier over time, and your brain will naturally go that direction. So secondly, if you hear your thoughts saying to yourself, this won't work for me. No, this is no good. This will not work for you. Instead, adjust your feelings again, adjust your focus, and ask yourself, how can this work for me? We spend too much time telling ourselves what we're doing won't work. When faced with a challenge, instead say, how can I get this to work for me? How can I get this to work for me? For example, if you're hearing yourself say to yourself, this won't work for me because I just don't have time. Change that to, how can I prioritize my time in order to make this work for me? It's just a simple little twist on how you're thinking. So thirdly, make it about your own choices. You know, a lot of times when we say I can't, it really means I won't. And so change I can't to I choose. According to dissonance theory, which is a psychological term, saying I choose will eventually change your beliefs about your power in a situation. You'll begin thinking that you chose that circumstance, and you will have more empowering choices as a result. So rather than saying, this is a big one, especially if you have limitations that you're trying to put on yourself, rather than saying, I can't have ice cream, say to yourself, I choose not to have ice cream. That's empowering. You're telling yourself it's your choice, and you know your reasons. So otherwise, it just feels like you're restricting yourself and you're limiting yourself, and it's just a negative thing. It's not anything that's going to give you optimism and a positive mindset. And that's no way to choose joy. We're all about choosing joy here. The power of the human mind is something that you can never fully grasp. It amazes us all because it is so complex. But guess what? We can harness that too, and we can make it more positive by changing the way we say things. It is frightening and fascinating to understand how powerful that is, and sometimes that can work against us. But the benefits of having a positive outlook and optimism is astounding. When people have a hopeful attitude, they find themselves with more strength to keep going no matter what happens, because their positive perspective helps them overcome obstacles that are in their way. So those 3 tips again, let's remember them. Turn I can't into how can I? You can also turn I can't, this won't work for me, into how can this work for me? And then finally, turn I can't into I choose when you're trying to make a change in your life. When we have a positive mindset and we look for the good in any given situation, no matter what is happening, we will always find ourselves with enough strength left over to keep on going and with the ability to choose joy. because joy isn't something that simply happens to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing joy every single day. Now, your feedback is so important to me. I would love to hear from you. We have a variety of topics that we cover with this, our Joy Tip of the Week show here. And I would be interested to hear from you. What is your favorite of these topics? We talk about living a healthy lifestyle and giving your body the support it needs to work properly. We talk about shifting your focus to a positive mindset, like we've talked about today. We talk here about living in gratitude and living in gratitude each day. And then finally, we also talk about always learning new things to keep your brain healthy. So, what of those topics resonate with you? I would love to hear what you'd like to hear more about. Thanks for watching, and please join me next Tuesday and every Tuesday for your Joy Tip of the Week. Bye-bye now.